And that's what we just did with that logic before. He's like, you can't find that kind of creative being that created your environment. The next thing is, well, what really is causing your world and therefore your anger? Yeah. Close your eyes, go back 1300 years, get into the TARDIS.
There are those who, having lost their senses, hurt themselves by themselves with thorns and such. To get a woman or the like, they become obsessed, and then do things like refusing to eat food. Some go and hang themselves, leap from cliffs, and swallow poison or other harmful things. Others go and hurt themselves by living in a way against the virtuous life. If people driven to it because of their mental afflictions even kill their own dear selves, then what surprise could it ever be to see that they also act in ways that harm the bodies of other people? Thus do people live, committing acts like suicide, driven by their own bad thoughts. If by some chance you cannot feel some pity for them, at least withhold your anger.
Can you read the last one again?
Thus do people live, committing acts like suicide, driven by their own bad thoughts. If by some chance you cannot feel some pity for them, at least withhold your anger.
Okay. And this is where it really begins to get sweet. It really begins to open up the idea that there's really no use in anger if you look at the world for what it is. And he technically starts going through some mistaken religious practices of the time, that if you threw yourself on a spear and killed yourself, or if you did this, you're going to reach some kind of enlightenment. He began to do that at the beginning, and then start saying, well, you know, people for love or for women or for things do all sorts of crazy things, and then forget those crazy things, just general non-virtues. They destroy their own virtue because they don't understand what's causing the reality. He begins to show us the state of this realm and this world, yeah, and the kind of people that we share the world with. In the Abhidharmakosha, there is this, which is, you know what that is so far for now, is this, there's this explanation of how beings, the physical part of the beings come about. They go and name every section of the fetus as it grows from jelly-like to this like to that, and then they go right through to death. And the word in Tibetan, I think, is chiba, that describes the period of a human life between the years of 3 and 5 or something like this, and they describe them as these wild, uncontrolled little creatures, these chibas, yeah. And the word chiba is used in the Charvatara to describe the kind of beings that we are. We're like children with razor blades, with serious objects, harming ourselves and each other. And he's saying, if you know you live in a world like that, with uncontrolled, impulse, little unconscious creatures hurting themselves, why are you surprised when they do anything that you perceive is hurting you? Why are you so, I am so angry at you? Like if you literally found a gang of 5-year-olds around the corner who had gotten hold of some dangerous weapons and were hurting themselves and others with those weapons, would you not have some kind of compassion instead of feeling anger or hatred towards them? Would you not say to these unconscious little chibas, wake the F up, you're destroying yourselves? And so he gets us there. Get us to the next reading. You know, he says, okay, so just get some compassion rather than get angry. He's giving us excuses not to get angry. He's giving us good reasons not to get angry, right? So he's like, get some compassion. You live in a world where people are like wild animals. Are you so surprised you're going to get angry about it? Like, this is where you're at. So then he says, he'll go through well, let's look at the nature of people, right? And he'll give you two options whether people are good or bad. So go back 1,300 years in your time machine, and Nick, tell us the next one, chapter number 10.
If it is the very nature of those who are children to do harm to others, then being angry with them is wrong. As wrong as hating fire for the fact it burns. And if the nature of living beings is to be thoughtful, then all their faults are occasional, and being angry with them is wrong too. Wrong as hating a puff of smoke in the sky.
Right, so come back. I'll go quickly because I know we're running time, but basically saying, if you really think the majority of humans, all of humanity, is at nature nasty, why are you getting angry? Look, that's what they are. It's like saying, fire burns. I'm really upset, fire burns. That's what it does. It's its nature. You'd be upset that it burned. It's what it is. And then he's saying, well, the opposite. Well, what if you thought at heart human nature was kindness and goodness, like a blue sky? And then when a puff of smoke went on, you got angry at the sky because it had an instance of not blueness, not perfectness. It's like it's a mishap. Be patient, like it's going to go away if the nature really is goodness. So there's no use in getting angry there either. Like there's no excuse to get angry. Let's go to the next one. Let's go back 1,300 years. And here we're going to the source that drives the thing that hurts us. Yeah.
It's the stick or whatever that delivers directly. If you're angry at what impels it, then get mad if you really must at anger itself, since it's the force that sets the other into motion.
Do it again.
It's the stick or whatever that delivers directly. If you're angry at what impels it, then get mad if you really must at anger itself, since it's the force that sets the other into motion.
Yeah, so if someone hit you over the head with a 2x4, you don't get angry at the stick. You don't get angry at the 2x4, and you walk around Manhattan going, there's a terrible 2x4, and there's a terrible 2x4, and you know, like you're avoiding 2x4s. You don't do that. You look at the thing that drove it to your head, which was the person, right? And he's saying, well, the same is true. You can't just be angry at the person who, because of their anger, their ignorance or whatever, did a stupid thing that happens on this planet anyway. Be angry at the thing that causes this creature to do that. It's hurting itself and it's hurting you in the process. Being angry at it is just like being angry at the stick. It's a waste of time. You can avoid it. It's saying you can avoid it, don't get hurt. He said avoid sticks, but don't be angry at the thing. It's like a stick. Yeah. And yeah, if you had to wage an ongoing campaign, would you do it at 2x4s or would you do it at people that use 2x4s to hit you? You know, like the same. Do a campaign against anger, which is the thing, and ignorance, that is the thing that's driving it, yeah? Which is where he's getting to. So then he's going, okay, so who is it? What is it that is behind these things? And this is the next reading or two. Reading, and then I've got a little explanation. So take yourself to Nalanda University 1,300 years ago and sit in a huge hall with thousands of monks and nuns.
I myself, in days gone by, perpetuated this very harm on other living beings. And so it's right that now the one who did the harm, myself, should have this hurt to come to him. Their weapons and this body of mine, both of them provide the causes for the pain to come. Their weapons and this body of mine, both of them provide the causes for the pain to come. They produce the weapons, and I produce the body. At which should I be angry? This blister in the shape of a man, unbearable if someone touches it, filled with suffering. It's me who, driven by blind desire, grasps to it. So who deserves my anger when someone harms it? Children want no suffering, but at the same time, then, they thirst for the things that bring them pain. If suffering comes to you because of some fault of your own, why feel hate for others? Take, for example, the guards of hell and forest filled with trees with leaves made of blades and swords. Every one of them was created by the deeds you did yourself. Who then deserves your anger?
Okay, thanks. That's really strong and really beautiful. He's saying ultimately the causes for your anger, for our suffering, is our karma, our mental habituation, the seeds of our existence, the things we created in the mind as we do them for time without beginning, ripening in front of us now as these experiences. And here, for those of you who have some idea of emptiness, is that really this world is shapes and colors. We are gathering data through our senses, filtering it already through a tiny portion of what really is out there, and there is nothing, it is empty of having a nature of its own. That thing out there, this thing out there, this thing out there, it hasn't got the nature I'm experiencing from it. And we know that as a fact because everyone's having a slightly but different experience of the now. You bring creatures in here and they're having a completely different experience of this now, this object, this thing. There is nothing in the objects generating into you the experience you are having. These are habituated patterns. These are karmas. These are the impulses that generate our experience. And he's saying, if I generated this experience of this blister of a man, that anything that touches it hurts, then should I be angry at the stick that touches it or me that created the blister? And he's saying, get to the source, because as soon as you think it's out there in the stick, you're already in the mistake. You won't ever stop the pain. So in comes the data, these colors and shapes, and we unwillingly generate our experience. But they are also caused. They are caused by us. You just got to get to the source, and that is the study of karma. And if that's true, then the very thing that caused you anger, the very impulse that came out of you and saw that thing and made you angry, lose patience, that very thing doesn't have that nature. If you understand that, then the last thing you're going to do is get angry at it, because you're just then coloring your mind again to have that thing meet with you stronger, bigger, more. It's the most counterintuitive thing on the planet, but it is the way to destroy the thing that causes you pain. If the thing that causes you anger, if you're feeling it there and through logic you understand these colors and shapes are telling me to punch it in the face, I'm so angry, the last thing you do is be angry at it, because it will produce more of it. And the truth is, if you treat it with some kind of compassion, with some wisdom, you can flip those colors and shapes and it can become a blissful deity at some point, a magnificent experience, an awakening thing, because you're putting wisdom towards that thing that doesn't have a nature, and you just injected it with a nature you want to ripen later. And here is the crux of practice. Here, and it takes some thinking, and it takes some habituation of hearing it and hearing it and hearing it, and then once you internalize it, you can begin to do it, and it changes things. Doesn't get easier, but it changes things. You still got to work, but it changes things, and it changes them fundamentally. So it's like, if you're honest with yourself and you understand causality, and causality is that all things don't have a nature of their own, they're empty of having that self-existence, not radiating like we think they radiate, then you brought this body too. And then he says, like children, you enjoy the things that give you pain. We grasp to this idea of myself and me and who I am, and I'm a Hector, and I'm a person, and I'm a body, and I'm these habits, and don't let me do this. They push. I don't want to change that side of me. I do want to. We love being in this self-existent cycle. We don't really want to be pushed. I don't want to do the 1 hour meditation that makes me understand the nature of reality. Boring. I like my disgusting suffering cycle. He's saying, like children, we like the things that hurt us. He's saying, I now begin to understand. I brought my body here, this blister that will hurt when someone touches it. And should I be angry at that? The causes of that blister, or should I be angry at the stick? Who's to blame? And he says, at the end of the day, doesn't matter who you blame, you are the creator of your world. And understanding that lets you begin the path to say, let me break free of this suffering. And the Bodhisattva will then do that for the sake of others. And I really hope, that you take to your anger, that you take to your impulses with vigor while you can. Because we are in this realm called the desire realm, where the nature of being, the one we like being sticky in, the suit we love, is we sort of like being this uncomfortable. We don't conceive that it's possible to be outside this, really, if you check with yourself. Can you be more than a human? Can you be really free from suffering? Really? Or do we sort of want to believe that over there, but I'm happy in my shitty suit? There's this joke in Tibetan, this Tibetan Buddhist joke, which are usually boring, but there's these 2 flies sitting on a cow dung, a pile of shit, right? And they're sitting there, and they're like, one of them says that, I'm not sure that I want to get to a Buddha paradise. And the other one goes, really, why not? He goes, I don't think there's got any shit there. So I just wanted, it's a Buddhist joke. Like, you know, but it tells, we are used to being used to this. What if you really hacked the way you thought of your world? What if you hacked your mind, your capacity? What if you hacked your habit? What if you totally short-circuited it? What if you understood that you truly are the creator of your experience? That there is nothing in the experience that forces it to be this way. Not anger, not dislike, not pleasure, not humanness, not death, not world like we know the world. What if you hacked that? Then this is a path. Really. Yeah.
If the fly experiences the shit as
bliss, yes.
can this exist in the
I said it was a Tibetan Buddhist joke. I know.
Hector,
thank you. Yeah.
Can you really just briefly talk about? It can be so easy, I think, to take this and use it as a like sabotaging tool to reify one's own afflictions, or like, oh, it's just my karma. Yeah. Oh, I'm just such a, oh yeah, well, it's my karma, I'm so fucked, you know. And it can, I see it in myself, especially, and in other people, it's like, oh, I caused this, so it's my fault, you know. And so can you maybe just, in your own experience, talk about where you experienced going over time from how you dealt with anger? I mean, not from the perspective of Shantideva or Geshe Michael, but your own experience?
Yeah. To this day, I still use, our minds are wired and habituated to be stuck in this way of thinking, right? We think things are solid. This is our main ignorance. That's the ignorance at the center of, we think the world is the way we experience it, and therefore it's solid that way. We think things are that way. And I, to this day, I have this. We all have this. That's why we are here. That's what being here means in this philosophy. So then you get a new idea, right? A ticket, a golden ticket out. Someone hands you the golden ticket, and you're like, you can get enlightened. Here is these 2 concepts. Karma, which is the way you generate experiences. In other words, the force behind which out of all these things, if they don't have a nature, if they are empty, the force that makes you experience it that way, karma, and emptiness, the fact that things don't have that nature. Someone gave me that ticket with two sides to that golden ticket. So what does a mind that is used to seeing things as solid, out there, permanent, do to that golden ticket? It makes it solid, permanent, and a good excuse to continue all the other habits, all the other schemas of our mind. So of course, to this day, it's not like I've freed myself from stupidity, I'm just more aware of it. To this day, I use karma as an excuse, unconsciously, to continue my patterns and my habits. And it's just another term that is out there, self-existent, karma, out there, producing me from its own side, right? Producing me, and I'm stuck in it. Boring. And as soon as you get that, over time, after you catch yourself, you just spent 3 months thinking of yourself in a specific way and going downward spiral to a place that is familiar, and it can be somebody's depression, it can be somebody's codependence, it can be somebody's addiction, it can be your own, any of these things. When you find yourself in those places that you've been in before, orbiting before, even with the golden ticket of karma and emptiness, understanding Buddhist philosophy, meditating, doing yoga, blah, 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 even with that ticket, you find your consciousness there, then you know you are misunderstanding something. If there is suffering, you are misunderstanding something. You think it comes from solid, out there. So you always bring your mind back to emptiness. You review emptiness meditation. Karma is empty of having a nature from its own side. Emptiness is empty of, as soon as you conceive of emptiness, like you were saying, as a thing, then it's not emptiness. Like you're misconceiving. But that's what we are built to do. That's all we've ever done. And of course, with the new golden ticket, we're going to do the same. It doesn't have a nature of freeing you. You make the nature of freeing you by understanding this thing. And that's why it's called a practice. Because you've got to practice that. You practice it over and over. You fall on your face gets covered in dung. The two flies have gone to Tushita heaven, and then you get yourself back up with wisdom, with understanding, with what you've learned, and in your few moments of sanity, in your few moments where you understood to the best of your ability, either through reading or meditating, the nature of how things really come to be, then you use that to address that, and you begin the spiral up. And sometimes if you do that over and over and over, it doesn't become a spiral up, it becomes a flip up. And in an instant, and this I can attest to from doing retreat or doing meditation or feeling completely helpless. Like just before one of my retreats, I'll tell you, one of my retreats, I'm sitting there after years and years of learning this stuff and practicing this stuff. I'm sitting in a room and I'm about to start this retreat, and I do the altar and I do all the practices that I've been taught to do with the right state of mind. But the right state of mind wasn't there. And I'm looking at all these objects, I'm going, what the F am I doing? Like I'm sitting in a room in some part of the world, lock the door, I'm looking at some metal object, I'm putting water in a bloody cup. How stupid. Like I'm thinking, how retarded. What am I doing? I've wasted my life. Wasted my life. Boring. Like what am I doing here? This doesn't do anything. I know it doesn't do anything. I'm using my understanding of karma and emptiness to let that, you're useless, you're helpless, you're stupid, you're all that thing. And of course it's coming up right now because it's threatened. Right? I didn't know that at the time. I actually felt I was going to smash the altar. I'm like, stupid, sick of this. And you persist and you push because you have logic behind you, because you understand what you've been practicing, even if it's like hard logic. So I'm going to finish a retreat and then I'm going to say it's stupid. So I sit there and I meditate, and then you see those very same things as delivering you to places that were impossible for you to believe. And they're not like some bizarre, floaty, weird things, a complete visceral experience that all the patterns and things you've been personally practicing are now ripening and pushing and attacking the things that are preventing you from getting free. And I can't give you specifics because they don't mean anything to you, because they mean something to me for me, because they're my battles for my patterns of behavior and mind. But all I can tell you as a summary is whenever you're down there, it's ignorance. And the only antidote to ignorance is wisdom. And wisdom is the thing that understands that nothing has a nature from its own side. And remembering that turns a mundane, boring altar into the most alive, magnificent room filled with magic.
Or hell.
Or hell. Depends on you.
Right.
Comes from you. Thanks for the question. Yeah. So let's do a dedication, make everybody, and I hope you get the significance of this. We just like smashed the core of where things come from. And I hope you join us next week. So before we do that, let's dedicate. Drokunanda Shinla Jupasho Hiram Guru Ratnamandala Kamninyatayami Didopun Sunam Yeshe Tsokshin Sunam Yeshe Legend Way Adampa Kuni Topasho. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about these things.
Thanks for teaching. Please stay.
Please stay.